and welcome to my Ever Messy Art Studio. My name is Keeks, and today I'm going to be redoing this moth picture. This moth actually had came up whenever I was doing my scroll and scribbles, but I did want to do it again. Last time I drew this, I was really tired, so I didn't get to put in the details that I wanted, so this time I just wanted to show what it would look like if I tried to do more of the details in the wing. This is also part of my continued testing of the iCrayon Water Soluble Pastels, so that's what I'll be using throughout this video, and it's the only material that I'll be using to draw this picture. I've never done a picture with only water soluble pastels before, so this will be a lot of fun. I'm also doing this on 12 by 12 watercolor paper, so without further ado, let's begin and have fun. The first thing I did was I went ahead and drew the head and the body to my moth. This way I could kind of get an idea of where the wings would fall. And then I added water to it, that way I could see just how water soluble it was, because once again I was testing these just to find out. And then once I saw how it looked with the light, I went ahead and started drawing out the wings. The wings were something I feel like I struggled with last time, and I think I did them a lot better this time because they look like the shape that I really wanted them to be. Something I noticed in the reference picture is that there was almost kind of like a light orangey color, or maybe like a rust color that was around the moth. So by adding the water to my lines, it kind of helped cause that rust color, and I think it ended up looking really good. Afterwards, I went in and added the stripes. Even though on the picture they look white, if you look, it's actually an orange that fades into a white. So I did it with orange first. And then I began to add the details to the wings, which a lot of the details were actually in black and white. So I decided to do black first. That way I'd kind of have an idea of where the white needed to go and where to re-add the bits of orange. In the picture, you can't really see the moth's eyes, but I wanted to add eyes because I just thought he was really cute and I really just wanted to add some eyes. And I think the big eyes kind of gave it a little playful and sweet look to him. Once I had the placement of that all situated, I decided to then retake the colors I had already used and go much darker with them. I like bold, bright colors, and this would also help me test the saturation of what happens when we add darker colors and then add the water on top of it. And I think this is a good choice because in the picture, those colors are really bold, and I feel like bolding the colors with the iCrayon Water Soluble Pastels really made it pop and really reminded me more of the reference picture. I also then at that point, while I was waiting for that to dry, went back and tried to soften the details in the wings just by using, once again, my water brush. And I think that worked out really well because in the picture there is a lot of black, but it's like kind of fluffy looking. So I think that that really helped. I also think that since this moth is a lot bigger than the first moth I did, I was able to really get in those small details, whereas last time I was just kind of doing almost an image that just kind of reminded me of the moth, like maybe like an abstract version. To me, if I was hopefully, somebody who is really into moth species, I feel like I'd be able to tell what kind of moth this is based on the markings, and I think that was pretty successful. Next, I needed to add more of that rusty red, which I believe was scarlet red, it was vermilion red. Yeah, vermilion red. And then I was adding in my whites because with this, you kind of have to blend in the whites because the white's not strong enough to be by itself. And I think that also worked in pretty well. And I really loved bits where I added in the orange and the red and blended it together. Like I started doing that on the wings just as an idea of how to try to get that kind of lightness to it while still keeping the patterns. And I think I was able to capture that, and I really had a lot of fun sort of designing how those colors would mix together. Like I really do actually think that these are pretty similar to the Caran D'Ache colors in that aspect. Like I think they require just a little bit more water, but you can get that crown look to go away, which is really cool, and then turn it slowly into a watercolor. So I still would strongly suggest if you're somebody who can't afford the Caran D'Ache Neocolor IIs, this is going to be a very good alternative, and I definitely felt that way as I continued drawing with these. For the background, I decided that instead of doing a super detailed leafy background, I wanted to kind of keep this playful because my moth to me just looked so fun and playful, and I honestly am not very good at realism just yet, so instead of trying to do realistic looking leaves, I decided to do more playful and childish leaves just to kind of keep it loose and fun. And I ended up using 3 different colors. I ended up using like a grass green, the sort of darker green is emerald green, and then olive green. Those were the 3 greens that I ended up going with to make the background. And then I just kind of colored them in, and once they were fully colored in, I would use my water brush to resaturate them. And it was kind of fun because since I did outline them first, ones that were kind of on the edges, it kind of almost mixed in together. So it like blended and created kind of a fun effect. And I think that it turned out looking really well, and I feel like it also helped the main focus stay on my insect. That was also one of the reasons why I highlighted the moth in yellow, because I thought maybe that would kind of give it a highlight that it would need, so that those like light marks that I had made, like the fluffy light marks I had made with my brush, hopefully wouldn't disappear. And since these are pastels, anything that I did accidentally draw over on the yellow bits, I was able to actually go back later and re-bold it to make sure that that outline stayed. While I was waiting for the water to dry, one of the things I noticed in the reference picture is if you look really closely at the wings, there's almost like little peppers of white and black in there. So I did end up taking my Posca pens, because Posca works really great over these, and I just made little dotted lines over where those little bits were to kind of get those patterns in there. So I did a little bit of the black Posca and a little bit of the white Posca and just peppered it in. And then after I was done with that, I went back to working on the background, because just like the Neocolor IIs, these do dry pretty quickly. You can kind of tap them with your finger, but really after like a minute or so, they are dry, which is excellent for if you're working on bigger pieces like this, because you're able to finish the whole thing in one go, which is really nice. After I colored in the bits of the background, I was beginning to realize I would need some more contrast, because even though I did want it to look playful and youthful, I didn't necessarily want it to be just weird blocks of color. So what I did was first I just finished doing my background greens, and then after I wetted them with the water brush, I needed to let them dry. So then I began to work on the sky, and so for the sky, because this is a moth, I decided that I wanted it to be nighttime. So I used the purple iCrayon water and pastel for that. And then what I did is I colored it in, but I also wanted there to be a bit more playfulness to it. So I also ended up doing like little lightning bugs, because here in Missouri we do get a lot of lightning bugs. We used to have a ton of them whenever I was a kid. But unfortunately, lightning bugs are something that is going extinct here. Like when I was a kid, you used to be able to see fields and fields of them, and they were everywhere. And now you're lucky if you see maybe 20 of them in your yard at night. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to put some lightning bugs in there just to kind of add to that playfulness, and anytime I can put in a little lightning bug, I will. So what I did is I put in kind of like the essence of lightning bugs. So first I put down some green, and that was just to be kind of like the glow. And then in the center of that glow, I put yellow. That way it would kind of have like towards the middle, like a main glow, like as if that was its butt, like blinking, I guess. And then I put a little bit of white on top of that to try and really kind of get the idea going. So those dots up there are not just dots, they are lightning bugs. So then I just kind of added the final touches to it, and even included like a little smiley face, because I was just so happy with how the eyes turned out that I thought it needed a little bit of a smile. And then that was pretty much it. So I really enjoyed making this, and I did end up gifting the eye crowns to my friend Amanda, because I already have Neocolors, so I didn't need both, and hopefully she enjoys those. So if you stayed with me this long, this ended up actually being a gift to Art Junky Shannon. One of the reasons why I'm gifting this to her is because she had watched my art room tour and said that she wanted to send me some of her art as inspiration. So I wanted to do the same thing. And I also really wanted to have a crack at this lovely moth. And I think it did pretty good. Like, I think that this looks pretty similar to the moth. And I think that if you looked at this and you were a moth person, you could possibly tell what kind of moth this is now. I made it a little bit cutesy and cartoony, and I'm still a noob whenever it comes to pastels, so my background looks a little childish, but I think it has a fun spirit to it. And I really hope that Shannon, Art Junky, really enjoys this. And if you stayed with me this long, thank you so much. If you're a subscriber, thank you. Or if you're not, please feel free to join, and I'd love to see you next time. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.